Okay, so we're gonna have our first movie review. Um, I just want to say before I start that um, if you're listening to this, um, obviously this is all subjective, right? You might love this movie or hate this movie or whatever, but we're gonna talk about it. So the first movie review we have is Cool World, which I don't know, so in pop culture, right? There's a lot of talk about escapism, media literacy. Like media literacy, if you guys don't know, it's like knowing what does it all mean, because there's like subtext and substance, right? People talk a lot about style over substance, or substance over style, or having both, right? When you think of style, you think of like directors and like how they make their movies, like um Zack Snyder, Quentin Tarantino. That said, substance, you think, what does it all mean, right? Subtext, it's like what the character is saying versus what they're actually meaning, right? This is all media literacy, and then like it goes into the rabbit hole of like allegories and parallels and metaphors and all this other stuff, right? Now, as much as like it's cool and important somewhat to like have like good messages and make good analysis and assessments in your movies, and like to display to the audience for them to take home with them, for some reason, right? Me as an individual, Jacob Erie, right? I find myself just liking really, really dumb movies. Now, I'm not saying that's because like I'm like a dumb person. I don't know. Maybe I am. Who knows? But it's just for some reason there's some movies that are just really, I don't know if quirky is the term, or dumb, or just like brain rot, which is like the new thing that all the people are saying, right? The youth. I'm too old for the youth, right? 28 years old, too old for that. I'm an old man in the young man's body. But Cool World, right? Cool World um, was a movie that came out, I believe, in the 90s or the 80s. I think it was the 80s, because Brad Pitt, and it stars Brad Pitt, right? And Brad Pitt had been close to my age now, being 28 or something. But Cool World is one of those like movies where it's like the mixed with the real world, like reality of like our world, mixed with like animation. So it's a hybrid movie, like that of Looney Tunes, Back in Action, Space Jam, and many other fun stuff. And so Cool World, um, the funny thing about this movie, I have a very interesting relationship with this movie, primarily because me being 28 years old, I've been meaning to watch this movie for a very, very long time, and it's always been on like my watch list or like my wait list. And I've just, me being the human tendency, I've just put it off, or whatever. And I think it has to be somewhere close to like 5 or 6 years since I had it on my list of things to do or things to watch. And man, now that I got into it, I'm gonna be honest with you, I really like this movie. And this movie is is honestly not for everybody, because it's really um it's, even though there's like animation, which would be like imply that it's like family friendly. It is family friendly, but at the same time, it's kind of not. It's not anything like raunchy, like Family Guy or like South Park, not at all. But like there's innuendos, there's romances, there's other stuff. It's not really bad at all, to be honest. And so if you're like super religious, it's a very innocent movie, to be frank. But at the same time, it's a little more on the serious side. It's not as innocent as as I just said, which is like, isn't that a contradiction, kind of, right? But Cool World is a movie. Should I tell the plot? Maybe no spoilers, but like I don't want to reveal any plots or stories, but I'll just tell about like the movie in general. So like the reason I like this movie is because me as an individual, I really like movies that I'm not really into nonfiction, so I'm not really into like history or like movies that like take place in the real world. Obviously, there would be some exceptions, like musicals. Nacho Libre would be another good example. Like, there's clearly exceptions, right? But me, I tend to gravitate towards things that don't exist or things I can't see, because that's kind of for me. I can only speak for myself, but for me, I go to the movie theaters to see stuff that I can't experience in real life, or like that is totally out of the realm of possibilities. And that's kind of why I like pop culture so much, because like the thing I would say, pop culture. I think pop culture is a huge blessing, and to have all these things at our disposal, in film, TV, music, gaming, comics, comedy, novels, animation, anime. It's all truly just wow. Thank the Lord, right? And so Cool World is like, um, it's kind of just like this weird thing. It's like one of those movies where like it doesn't have like the best plot, doesn't have like the best story, but it's just kind of just like a fun like thing that you could just turn on and like turn your brain off. Me personally, the reason I'm not really, obviously, like I said, media literacy is important, knowing like the subtext, the subject matter, the substance of it all. What does it all mean, right? But I kind of just like to be entertained, and I like escapism, and this movie is just a fun thing to escape to. And man, cool. If I could buy this franchise, like, which I probably will, everyone's like, "What does he mean by that?" You'll see in the future. But like, Cool World is like such a fun. It's just like such a fun thing. It's like Space Jam. Would I say it's better than Space Jam? I don't know. Space Jam is really good, but me just being such a, I'm probably like the biggest fanboy of this movie. I just think it's awesome. I think Brad Pitt is perfectly cast, but also awkwardly cast, and he plays the role right. He leans into it. Like, this movie kind of knows what it wants to be. You hear that a lot in like movie criticisms and stuff like that. I think the color scheme and the way like it was shot was pretty well done. The director, who I forgot his name, I like a lot of his movies, but he's always been one of those directors that I've like thought was like, wow, he's like so creative. Um, really just like uncanny kind of stuff. And so currently, right now, what's it's like it's February of 2025. Currently, right now, the type of movies that are coming out is like, what is it? Wicked just came out. Um, there's the Mufasa movie. They just dropped the trailer for both Jurassic World Rebirth and then Fantastic Four First Steps. And honestly, I don't want to see any of those movies, because I would literally rather stay home and watch Cool World, because Cool World is just like my type of movie. Like, this movie was made for me. And I know someone's like saying like, "What do you mean it's made for you? Isn't it for everybody?" Yes, like, don't be dense, okay? But it's such a fun movie. Now, um, what are the other things? He, I think this movie has really high rewatchability, because in my mind, when I think of rewatchability, I think of it as like an equation. Um, there's the journey, right? The movie itself, and what happens in those first three acts, and then there's the destination, ending, which obviously an ending can make or break a movie and really impact what people think about it. Um, the only I would say the only thing I don't like about this movie, and this is like a really confusing thing, but if anybody is like, if you ever want to, like, I don't know, in other videos or other encounters with me, like doing whatever I'm doing in pop culture, if you ever want me to elaborate what I mean by this, because this is gonna be really confusing, um, this is what I have to say. Okay, so this is me prefacing with what I'm about to say with what I don't like about this movie. I once heard someone say, or I saw a meme sometime. Someone said that why does it feel like when someone is naked with their shoes on, that they feel more naked than if they were completely naked. And I thought that was a very ironic thing to say, and it was kind of like a paradoxical, oxymoronic thing. But at the same time, it's kind of true, right? Why am I mentioning that? Because in this movie, I like a lot of things that happens. I like a lot of the sequences, and there's not a lot of characters, right? Not a lot of character development. There's not a lot of like backstories or character arcs or storylines. But with what it has, I'm perfectly fine with it, and I like how it goes. But somewhere towards the end of the movie, it introduces a lot of like, well, it doesn't introduce them, but a lot of more characters are on screen, right? And there's a lot more commotion going on. But at the same time, it feels like the movie gets really empty at the end, even though there's way more characters and motion going on. And that's what I was comparing to the whole like, you feel someone says like observing someone else, like if you see someone with their shoes on and they're completely naked, it feels like they're more naked than if they were just naked. And if you don't understand, I'd love to elaborate, but some of you probably understand what I mean. But you also have to watch this movie to know what I mean by this, because one of the things that really I think doesn't get talked about at all. I've never even heard anyone ever say this, but like when you have a movie, a lot of the most popular movies have a lot of like, not like characters or like an ensemble cast, but they have a lot of space being filled in, if that makes sense. And that's probably one of the criticisms I have. And this only applies to like the end of the movie, which is kind of the whole paradoxical oxymoronic thing I'm saying. And if you still don't know what I mean, even after you watch this, then that's fine. It's just like, it's something that as someone who wants to make movies, I've made it like a note to like try to like fill up these spaces and like, do all these other different things that I want to do with like my aspirations. Um, but yeah, I really like Cool World. I think having a Cool World 2 would be so cool. Like I know that everyone's sick of sequels and like remakes and all this other stuff, but Brad Pitt being as old as he is, that'd be kind of like, I think that'd be kind of neat. Um, but yes, so Cool World. What rating would I have to give it out of 10? I'm gonna be honest. I shouldn't be giving it this rating, but I'm going to because I really like this movie. I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10 because I really like this movie. This movie was made for someone like me. That's why. So, I mean, that's our first movie review of Cool World.